ESPN has once again drawn harsh criticism from observers and fans for their inaccurate WNBA award predictions. Meanwhile, WNBA legend Aja Wilson is going crazy over these forecasts. How is it possible that supporters believe Caitlin Clark to be more significant than she is? Because to Clark's influence, she's going crazy. ESPN released what looks to be the last edition of their WNBA 2024 awards, which includes updated rankings for WNBA MVP, all WNBA first team, and various other honors as the WNBA approaches its final week of the regular season in 2024. Unanimously, Aja Wilson wins MVP. No one can argue against it. When discussing MVP, you have to say something like, of course, Aja Wilson is winning is in. You can't even have a productive discussion about MVP without beginning it with, well, I already know that Aja Wilson won, as if that were the norm. We ought to be able to discuss Caitlin Clark's honorable mention if we talk about this conversation, which I believe is a little strange. And this was their assessment of Caitlin Clark. Despite the predictable difficulties the team faced in the first month of the season, Indiana has won 14 of their past 20 games, including 2 decisive victories following the All-Star break. As a creator and facilitator, Clark has discovered a synergy with her teammates and an exceptional level of comfort on the court. She is attempting to get entry into the W team and the top 5 finishers in the MVP voting. She's not exactly kicking around the first team, in my opinion. She is in there, in my opinion, and I'll venture to say that she is among my top 3 picks, along with Aja Wilson, Caitlin Clark, and Nafisa Collier. The passionate fan base of Indiana Fever rookie Caitlin Clark has been very critical of ESPN over some of their prior rankings. Most notably, in a piece published on August 27th, they classified Clark as being on the All-WNBA second team instead of the first team. And everyone was shocked that ESPN was that detached from reality when, in an August 29th article, they selected Chicago Sky freshman Angel Reese over Clark for WNBA Newcomer of the Year. Is she a better player for her team than Nafisa Collier and Caitlin Clark? I'm not sure about that, and that's where this conversation can begin. The MVP prize is arbitrary. It's quite difficult to give this honor out based only on the figures. There are a plethora of interpretations for this MVP award. For this reason, whenever I hear pundits and WNBA analysts assert that something is universally agreed upon that Aja is the winner, you are utterly incorrect. In my opinion, there is a valid point to be made, so I don't think it's really fair to state that. People will go crazy because at this point it would just be a hit on Caitlin Clark again if she is not on the ballot or does not place in the top 5 for MVP. All it would do would be keep her out. ESPN has formally updated the 2 contested rankings, naming Clark as the winner. Selected to the All-WNBA first team and awarded Rookie of the Year by all parties. Not only did Clark have one of the greatest rookie seasons in WNBA history, but he also had a fantastic season for a player with any amount of WNBA experience. She is averaging 19.5 points, a league-best 8.3 assists, 5.7 rebounds, and 1.3 steals, according to ESPN's Michael Vopel. She has helped the Fever return to the postseason for the first time since 2016 and has established the WNBA single-season record with 329 assists. The Fever's dream of placing Clark at the top has come true, along with an enormous increase in both attendance and merchandise sales. Vopel also noted that despite Reese's several rebounding and double-double records, some voters would still prefer her to Clark for this coveted honor. However, he quickly emphasized that Clark will win this award by a wide margin. The 3 ESPN writers who contributed to the post unanimously selected the 22-year-old former Iowa Hawkeye for the WNBA first team. The All-WNBA first team included Aja Wilson, Nafisa Collier, Breanna Stewart, a talented forward for Liberty, and Clark. Alyssa Thomas, a Sun star, was replaced by Minnesota Lynx shooter Kayla McBride in the 3rd author's entry. ESPN brought up a few previous award predictions, especially the ones involving Clark, but it seems like this most recent one was accurate. Aja isn't too thrilled about it, though, as they're still not nominating her for MVP, which is absurd given recent months' worth of data from Caitlin Clark that revealed the WNBA MVP race isn't as close as some may think. This season, Aja Wilson of the Las Vegas Aces has performed exceptionally well, putting her in the running for the 2024 WNBA MVP award. The race was not competitive at all for the majority of the season, but Indiana Fever's Caitlin Clark has lifted the stakes. Clark had a fantastic rookie season going into the All-Star break. She has, however, improved even further, establishing herself as one of the league's best rookies. She has actually played so well that some of her stats are on par with Wilson's MVP effect, and others even surpass it. These statistics show Wilson's significant impact on the scoreboard through her passes, even though she is unquestionably the superior scorer. As a rookie, 38.3 points per game is just unheard of. A fan made a fair analysis of the MVP race in their comment on this story. The year's best player? All right, no problem, Asha. Most beneficial. Caitlin, as yes in that discussion. This is a great concept because in the MVP competition, value isn't often given enough credit. In 2023, Clark took a team that was at the bottom of the standings and turned it into one that had a chance to compete in the playoffs. She has, of course, received some help, but she has impacted her team more than anyone else. And that's just what annoys Aja. Clark simply has more sway on the floor. She scored 122 threes on 34.4% of her attempts, broken the assist record, and produced the most points in the league. That's second greatest of all time, even surpassing WNBA legend Taurasi and only 6 short of the record established by Ionescu last year. In my opinion, that player is quite valuable. According to recent sources, the competition was intense still. These are the ultimate choices for MVP and Rookie of the Year. The WNBA season this year was remarkable. Of course, the league's immense publicity helped a great deal, but so did the on-court action. Choosing awards becomes challenging because of this, particularly when 2 of the league's most notable players, Aya Wilson, and this is the expected outcome of the voting. MVP Aya Wilson. This was not a decision that should have been this difficult. Wilson's season with the Las Vegas Aces was one of the most dominant in WNBA history, which explains why. Aya surpassed all previous scorers to become the first player in league history to reach 1,000 points in a season. She also ended second in the W in rebounds per game and lead the team in blocks. It wasn't a no-brainer solely because Clark did things that no other player had ever done before, which completely turned the tide on the Indiana Fever. Wilson, Clark, and Napheesa Collier ought to be the top 3 MVP contenders in whatever order, despite the fact that Collier deserves praise for her all-around season with the Minnesota Lynx. But because of her amazing season, Aja receives the vote for first place in a choice that might be unanimous. This was a simple choice, even though it was contested the entire season. In addition to setting records for single-season assists and rookie scoring, Clark led all players in points scored during his career. Though Caitlin made more for herself than anybody else, she also made things for other people. This occurred as the Fever advanced from the bottom to at least top 500 in a postseason berth. It was an easy decision to recognize Chicago Sky Go Ski's Angel Reese for her fantastic debut season. But it makes me pause. These metrics make you MVP, don't they? With the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark's incredible first season numbers have established her as a strong contender for debut of the year. Because of this, she is still being considered by the media for the MVP award, which will almost certainly go to A'ja Wilson of the Las Vegases. Clark said it was cool because she had grown during the season when asked how she thinks about journalists choosing her to win the MVP award. She told the media, "I'm proud of myself in that regard. I was able to figure it out as we go." Now, entering Game 40, it's night and day from where I started. I've gained a lot of knowledge, she said. It's been challenging to juggle learning a new system, teammates, coaches, and myself at the same time, but once we got going, my teammates let me be myself, and I believe it has helped us succeed. It's unique, though. And she reminded us all why she was even in the MVP discussion during the last regular season game. In the Indiana Fever's 9-2-9-1 loss to the Washington Mystics on Thursday, Caitlin Clark created WNBA history once more by becoming the point guard with the most points scored in a single season, per Stat Mamba. Regardless of the result, the Fever were already assured of the 6th seed in the upcoming playoffs, thus Clark's season break record was a bright spot in the match. Important players like Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell were rested by Fever head coach Christy Sides because the game was almost meaningless in terms of rankings. Before being substituted halfway through the third quarter, Clark, who finished her incredible rookie season averaging 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds, finished the game with 8 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds. The Fever had already qualified for the playoffs for the first time since 2016. They will play the Connecticut Sun, the number 3 seed, in the first round. Leading scorer for the Fever this season, Kelsey Mitchell had a momentary fright in the first quarter following a collision with a Mystics player. She left the game but later came back to the bench, but she didn't play again. Mitchell's precautionary absence was confirmed by player development coach Jared Simpson, who also said that Mitchell is okay. According to Chloe Peterson of the Indianapolis Star, she is a warrior. The Fever's bench players had a lot of action in spite of the loss. Christy Wallace-Strone, who made 6 of 8 shots for 17 points. Washington scored a total of 60 points in the second and third quarters because of the Fever's poor defensive performance. Although Indiana rested a number of its star players, they were still able to cut a 15-point lead to 1 in the final seconds, but they were ultimately defeated. In preparation for the postseason, Indiana's defense will need to be strengthened, especially against a Connecticut team known for its tough defense and disciplined play. For their first postseason appearance in 8 years, the Fever, led by Clark Mitchell and WNBA All-Star Aaliyah Boston, will want to leave a lasting impression. How do you feel? Will they have an impact in the postseason? And would they be able to defeat the Connecticut team? I'm sure the Sun aren't excited to play against Caitlin Clark, so please share your opinions in the space provided below.